Uh, Today we shall continue on our study on the Sabbath day. This is the third part. But before that, we just do a quick refresher on what we have learned so far. Um, Unfortunately, for those who came later, we have gone through many sessions. We've gone through one through God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, the Bible, and today we are going on Sabbath day. We have also gone through number 9 days on salvation. So basically, after we complete our Sabbath day discussion today, we will only be left with the sacraments. Who is a Christian? What must he do? What must he know? There is also one other topic that I will push into this, which is concerning last days, signs of the last days. And the very last topic which I will cover will be on one true church. And only one, which, why, how do we know? So this will be the last session that I will do with this Bible study session. So let's go on to study on the things that we are discussing. In the previous week, we have discussed what is the Sabbath day, its origin and purpose. We have also studied the Sabbath day only for Jews, Christians, or all mankind. Of course, the conclusion that we have drawn here is that Sabbath day is not only for the Jews, it's also for Christians and all mankind. And the reason is because the Sabbath day was instituted from the beginning of creation. So, and when God created, he blessed the day and made it holy. And when Jesus Christ came, he said that Sabbath was made for man, not Christians, not Jews, but for man. So all of us being men will have to keep the Sabbath. And last week, we discussed on who changed God's Sabbath day for most Christians to Sunday. We discussed the historical background, on how the change came about. We say that Emperor Constantine introduced Sunday as a day of rest for the people in the Roman Empire. But in truth, it was a Catholic Church which changed Sabbath day to Sunday. And they put it very seriously that whoever they worship on the Sabbath day will be excommunicated. And they consider these people who worship on Sabbath day are Judaizers. So the reason why they bring Judaizers was because I mentioned that because the Jews constantly rebel against the Roman Empire, so the Romans were actually persecuting the Jews, and because they do not know who are the Jews, because Jews look like everybody else, so they persecuted those who worship on Sabbath day. And so Christians who observe the Sabbath day were also persecuted in that sense. So the Catholic Church at that time made a political decision. Since the Roman Empire already had Sunday as a day of rest, they changed the Sabbath day from being a holy day and made Sunday as a holy day. So I have mentioned many other things in this. I say that there are other reasons why they changed, because the empire, mainly the people in the empire, the Roman Empire, basically they were sun god worshippers. And because the sun god worshippers, you end up in a situation that if they do not have something that conform to their worship, what it means to worship is that since they worship the sun god, and the sun god's day, special day is Sunday. So in order to convert these people, the Catholic Church did a political decision, so to speak. to pacify or to just like Chinese New Year, you want the Chinese to come to you, you make it a celebration. Or like for example in Malaysia, in order to make the Tamils happy, they introduce Thai tourism become a public holiday, that kind of thing. So the Catholic Church also for that reason, in order to persuade the pagan worshippers of the sun god to become Christians, they also introduce that. And of course, the other thing is political, no? Since the Roman emperor have Sunday as a day of rest to be aligned with the Roman Empire, they also changed their holy day to Sunday. So these are some of the questions and all these things. Now I will show you now, which I did not show you the other time, some of the comments of the other churches on the Sunday. Why Sunday was it? Okay, let me just stop share here. Let me share with you the other. Screen. Now, can you all see this screen? Can you see the wording in this screen?
Yes.
Yes. And, okay. Now, this is just an extract of a larger extract. Okay. So here is extract from the Catholic Church. So from here you can see it's well to be reminded. This is from the Catholic Church. Okay, and it's published by this priest Brady in 1903. It's well reminded the Presbyterian, the Baptist, Methodist, and all Christians that the Bible does not support them anyway in the observance of Sunday. Sunday is an institution of the Roman Catholic Church, and those that observe a commandment that day observe a commandment of the Catholic Church. So you can see down here that the Roman Catholics were so proud to say that we are the ones who change. You cannot find from a Bible. Okay, they follow us. The next passage, again say the same thing. Protestant accept Sunday, rather Saturday as a day of public worship after the Catholic Church made the change. But the Protestant mind does not seem to realize in observing Sunday, they are accepting the authority of the spokesman for the church, the Pope. They made very clear that we are the ones. So now I will send you these notes. So I will not read all of them. I will just read only parts of it. Okay. But what you can see down here is there is a whole. This, as I mentioned, is just a part of the extract of other comments of the church leaders from the Catholic Church. There are many, many comments. Okay. So, like for example, have you any other way of proving that the church has the power to institute festival and precept? So this Reverend Stephen, obviously a Roman Catholic priest, says that have she not the power? She could not have done so in which all modern religions agree with her. She could not have substituted the observance of Sunday to the first day of the week. For the observance of Saturday, the seventh day, a change for which there is no scriptural authority. Okay? He made very clear, this Roman Catholic priest made it very clear, there is no scriptural authority for the change. That means you can never find anywhere in the Bible that Sabbath day worship has been changed to Sunday. Of course, in your discussion with other Christians, they will try to point out, oh, this Bible will say this and all these things. We will discuss this shortly later, okay? But what I'm trying to tell you now is the leaders of the Roman Catholic Church, and afterwards we're going to show you the leaders of the other Protestant churches, all agree that there is no biblical reference for which they can use to prove that God changed Sabbath day worship to Sunday. Okay, it's none whatsoever. Okay, so you can read this at your own time. There's so many verses, so many what okay. Okay, here another publication. It says you may read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, and you will not find a single line authorizing the sanctification of Sunday. You won't find a single line. The scripture enforces the religious observance of Saturday, a day which we never sanctify. They, the Roman Catholics are so proud. Says the Bible says it's Saturday, but that is not a day that we sanctify. That means we consider as holy. That's what they proudly say, So you go on, okay. And then here, this is another Roman Catholic priest. It says that if we consult the Bible only, we should still have to keep holy the Sabbath day, that is Saturday, with the Jews instead of Sunday. So he said that if you only look at the Bible, Saturday, okay, Sabbath day, okay, so no other days. So this is what they say, okay, these are leaders. And then here Roman Catholic openly says that Sunday worship was borrowed from pagan worship of the sun god. Okay, so this is by a prominent Protestant leader agree with this statement because this is spoken by John Paul. I think this is Pope. Okay, he said pastoral institutions suggested to the church the Christianization of the notion of Sunday as the holy day, as a day of sun, which was a Roman name for that day, and which is retained in modern languages. This was in order to draw the faithful away from the deduction of the cults who worship the sun and to direct the celebration of the day of Christ. So, this Pope says that we borrowed this Sunday worship and put it as the Christian worship in order to draw away the faithful from the seduction of the cults. That means to make those pagan worshippers accept Christianity. They borrow this day and make it a Christian day of worship. Direct statement, okay? You can never be more direct than that. And there are also other things, okay? The sun was a foremost god of heathendom, okay? The sun worshippers at this hour in Persia and others. So you can see down here that they borrowed that day. So now, interestingly, when I had a discussion of this thing in a debate with other Christians on this matter, when I posted this these comments by the leaders of the Catholic Church, this Christian, this Protestant member, he said that you can forget about the Roman Catholics; they are cults. I was shocked. He dared to declare that the Roman Catholics are cults. So I said, okay, you do not accept the comments of the Roman Catholic Church. What about the comments of the leaders of the Protestant churches? Okay. So I brought to her. It says that now this is the Anglican Church. Anglican Church is a church founded in England. Okay, Anglican Church. Okay, and we are told in the scriptures we are to keep the first day at all. No, where are we told? Is it where? You look in the scriptures. Where does it say that we have to keep the first day of the week? Now Sunday is the first day of the week. We are commanded to keep the seventh, and we are nowhere commanded to keep the first day. The reason why we keep the first day holy instead of seven is for same reason we observe many other things, not because of the Bible, but because the church has enjoyed it. Now, this was the Anglican Church who says that we have been keeping Sunday worship not because it's scripture, that means not because it's found in the Bible, But because the church that we came up from, that means the Catholic Church, they grew up on Catholic Church, they have already put it as if it's a practice. And so they, just like many other things that the Roman Catholic Church, the Catholic Church observe, we continue with the custom. So this is his admission. Okay? This is by Isaac William. Okay? He's the Anglican. And the Baptist Church, okay, this pastor from Baptist Church says that this is written author of the Baptist Manual. He says there was and is a commandment to keep holy the Sabbath day, but that Sabbath day was not Sunday. He made it very clear, Sabbath day is not Sunday. It will be, however, really said, and with some show of triumph, that the Sabbath day was transferred from the seventh to the first day of it, with all its duties and privileges and sanctions. Now take note, we are not saying that you cannot observe the worship of God, having services on any day. We are not saying that. We are saying which day is holy to God. So the Baptist Church here says that when you say Saturday, Sabbath day, from Saturday to Sunday, we are talking about transferring everything. That means making it a religious holy day, transferring it totally from the seventh day to the first day, which is Sunday. We are talking about that. And they are saying that, that this transfer, you can never find it in the Bible. Okay? And it says, earnest design automation, which I've studied for many years. I asked, where can the record of such transaction be found? Where can you find the authority to transfer Sabbath day worship from Saturday to Sunday? Is it not in New Testament? Absolutely not. There is no scripture evidence of the change of Sabbath institution from the seventh to the first day of the week. This is written in the Baptist Manual. Okay, so it's very clear. So when I give all this extract to this Protestant lady, she now came back because she's a Protestant. She said, I don't accept the statements of the Roman Catholics. But even the Protestant church leaders themselves says, we have accepted it, okay, but you can now find it in the Bible. Okay, so again, the Brethren Church, another Protestant movement, they also says that we have held the view that the Sabbath, which one held, okay, and we still held perhaps by a great majority of most Christians, we confess that we can never answer the Adventists. Now, this Adventist is Seventh-day Adventist. What he's trying to admit is this, if we ever have a debate or discussion with a Seventh-day Adventist, we will never win. He said it very clearly, okay? We confess that we cannot answer the Adventists. What is more, neither before or since I've heard or read, which will conclude answer Seventh-day Adventist on the scripture contention that seventh day is the Sabbath. He said that, this Brethren Church pastor says that if we were to discuss with a Seventh-day Adventist, he said we will never win because there's no scriptural proof to show that the commandment of God has been changed. So this is, and then the Christ Church, there's so many other things. So I will send this to you after today for your own. As you can see, I'm just running through. So all these different churches, Lutheran Church, okay, Lutheran Church, they say the observance of Lord's Day is founded not on any commandment of God, but the authority of the church. Because this church refers to the Catholic Church. Okay, they allege the Sabbath day changed to Sunday, the Lord's Day, into a decalogue. They agree, okay, so that you can find that the Sabbath day was not changed because of the day. Now, I will send to you all these things, as you can see, and then this Moody's Bible Institute. The Sabbath day was binding in Eden, and and it has been enforced ever since. There is no change. Sabbath day worship, based on the study, the Moody Bible Institute said that Sabbath day was there from beginning, and even now it is still enforced. The fourth commandment begins with the word remember. It says that showing that Sabbath already existed when God wrote the law on the tables of the stone on Mount Sinai. You know, when you read the commandments, the four commandments say, remember. What Moody's Institute says that, how can you remember when it's never there? The only way that God will say that remember is because the Sabbath day worship was always there. So therefore, in writing the Ten Commandments, it says that remember the Sabbath day. So they mean to say that it has always been there, and therefore now you are required to remember. And so it says that how can man claim that this one commandment has been done away with when they will admit that the other nine are still binding? You know, they say, oh, okay, 10 commandments, you keep 9 commandments, but the fourth commandment you can throw away. See, the Moody Bible institutions, how can that be? He said, you can't do that. Okay? I honestly believe that the fourth commandment, is just as binding today as it ever was. So, and that is, I've talked to men who said that it was it, and they can never put a point, they can never put a Bible reference to say that God has changed it. So it's very clear. Okay, from all this extract, as I mentioned, this is only part of the extract that I have. Okay. So today, afterwards this, I will send you these notes. Then you can read for yourself. Okay, so that you can be fully assured that not only what we are saying is extracted, is spoken correctly, but the leaders of the other denominations all agree that there's no basis of the change of God's holy day from the 7th day to the first day. Okay? So now let's go back to what we want to discuss today. Let's share screen. Okay. Now today we will discuss on answers to often quoted Bible verses used by Sunday worshippers. So let's go on. Now these are the topics that we have discussed. Now today we will discuss on this one didn't come off. There will be 7 things, 7 matters that we discuss. Number 1 is on Lord's Day. Whenever we have the discussion with Christians from other denominations, they will come up to this word, Lord's Day. Okay. So we will be discussing what do you mean Lord's Day. Okay. That is found in Revelation chapter 1, verse 10. And the other verse that they will talk to you is on Acts chapter 20, where there is a record that Paul was involved in a sort of a service where there was breaking of bread on the first day of the week, and you know those people, those lay Christians who want to discuss. Oh, they say there's a change from Sabbath day to Sunday. They use this verse, Acts chapter 20. We will discuss that. And there also will be a discussion on 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 2, where Paul wrote to the Corinthians and said that on the first day of the week, you have to put aside certain contribution. And so therefore, they use it, oh, you see, there's a special service on that day in which they specially collect something. We will discuss that. We also discussed on Mark chapter 2, verse 2 to 28, where it was discussed that Jesus Christ says, I'm the Lord of the Sabbath. So this question. And you also have this in Matthew chapter 28, verse 1, where Mary Magdalene and some of the other women folks, they went to the tomb on Sunday and found that the tomb was empty. And they say that they use this verse that at that time, at the same time, when they were having all these things, the disciples were having what you call that? They were in hiding. So what they mean, it says that because Jesus Christ rose on the first day of the week, they say therefore that day become God's holy day already. They use that. And then they also at the same time says that there was a reference that the disciples of Jesus Christ were hold up together under closed door on the first day of the week. And therefore they say that that day was a change from Sabbath day to Sunday. And this you also find. So Matthew chapter 28 verse 1 and then John chapter 20 verse 19. And then this one was in the discussion where some Christians, not some Christians, there's only one person that I come across giving this argument that says that the Jewish calendar and our Gregorian calendar that we use do not align. Okay, do not align meaning it says that actually the Jewish Sabbath day is on Wednesday. He said the Jewish Sabbath day is on Wednesday. I said, this is the first time I come out with it. Then I Googled the thing, I printed out the thing and showed her. There is no question of alignment, okay? Sabbath day in the Jewish calendar and the Gregorian calendar, they all align correctly. And very simply, I say that, if I just answer this, I was in Israel, okay, and I was there over weekend. So I can clearly see that on the Friday, the Muslims have the day of worship. And then on Saturday, Sabbath day, the Jews have the day of worship. And on Sunday, the Christians have the day of worship. So if the Jews calendar day is different from the Gregorian calendar, then they should be worshipping on having the holy Sabbath day on Wednesday, but they have it on the Sabbath day, which is on Saturday. So that is, I told her, it's a lie. It's totally nonsense. I say that you can just go internet, you can just bring up the thing, you can see for yourself. And the last question, something that I come across is, does creation day represents a normal day? This is a big question that each day of the week, each day when God created heaven and earth, is it really one day? Is it a 24-hour day? And so therefore the Sabbath day, is it Sunday? Is it Friday evening to Saturday evening? That kind of thing. So we'll discuss that shortly. So now I will now go back to stop share. I will give you the notes so that you can read where it's now. Screen share. Okay. Now can you see this screen? Jenny, can you see?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, can see. Okay, good. Now, in your discussion with Christians from other churches, they will always come up with this Lord's Day. Lord's Day. So where is their origin? How do they come up with the idea Lord's Day? So you read Revelations chapter 1 verse 10. John, can you read? John, I can't hear you. John?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What happened? Can you hear me now? No?
Yeah, can hear you now.
Can you hear me, right?
Yes, yes, can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
You read the verse.
Yeah. What verse is it? Hello? Yeah, I
Revelations,
can't hear.
Revelations chapter 1, verse 10.
Just a minute. Revelation chapter 1, verse 10, right?
Yes.
Yes. I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day, and I heard behind me a loud voice as of a trumpet.
Okay. Just 1 second. Let me close. Sorry. Now, you see, the Bible reference that those who use it to argue against Sabbath day worship is this verse. Okay, because they use this verse because John had this revelation from our Lord Jesus Christ in Revelations, where he says, "I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day when I hear behind me a loud voice as a trumpet." So actually, if you were to just quickly read this verse, can you tell me if you don't have any ulterior motive, which part of this verse basically tells you that there was a change of holy day from Sabbath day to Sunday? You know, it puzzles me because when I have my discussion, they say, "Oh, the Lord's Day." I said, where in this verse mention that I was in the spirit of Lord's Day, even if this day was supposed to be a physical day, and the answer is the Lord's Day is not a physical day. Okay, where in this verse that it says that therefore God has changed Sabbath day worship to Sunday? None. It's not a Sabbath. And really, the only thing as I've written down here, why they say they use this verse is because it contains the word Lord's and day. So meaning to say that because it's the Lord's day, therefore it must be an important day. And then they try to connect other things. Okay, because okay, now your Lord's day, you say it's an important day, fine. But then how do you know that Lord's day is Sunday? And they went on to say that, oh, because Jesus Christ resurrected on the first day of the week, therefore the Lord's day is Sunday. There's no linkage whatsoever. Okay, there's no Bible linkage other than in the desperation to find a day to support first day of the week. They just pull out a day where it seems very important, was very important Lord's Day, and then try to link this Lord's Day using their own interpretation that, oh, this must be a day that our Lord Jesus Christ resurrected. So if you really read it carefully, there is no reference inside here to tell you that there is a change from Sabbath day to Sunday. And in fact, I also come across the Seventh-day Adventists. They then says, oh, okay, good. You use the Lord's Day. Then they go and turn to the verse in Mark chapter 2, verse 28. And it says that Jesus Christ himself declared that I am the Lord of the Sabbath. He said, I am the Lord of the Sabbath. So therefore the Lord's Day must be the Sabbath day. So the Seventh-day Adventist says that this Lord's Day is the Sabbath day. But however, as far as our church interpretation and how we should interpret it, this Lord's Day does not refer to whether it's Sunday or the Sabbath day. Okay. Now, when you want to interpret, the next time when we want to see any Bible verses and you want to do some interpretation of it, there are three tests that we have to be very careful. Okay. Number one is that is the interpretation of any particular verse or verse consistent with the interpretation of the same verse in another part of the Bible? I'll give you an illustration. Say, for example, we are trying to interpret white horse in the book of Revelation. Okay, and in the book of Revelation, white horse You can find it in Revelation chapter 19, verse 2, as well as Revelation chapter 6, verse 2. Obviously, and when you read Revelation 19, verse 2, you can see very clearly that this white horse has Jesus Christ sitting on it and all these things. And therefore, this white horse is a good horse. Because Jesus Christ is sitting on it. Now, but you find that in the secular churches today, they use Revelation chapter 6, verse 2 in interpreting a white horse as the spread of false gospel. This one is a false prophet. So now John is the one who writes the book of Revelations. When he writes the book of Revelations, it cannot be at one time the white horse is the good horse, and then another time the white horse is the bad horse. It's all written in one revelation given by Jesus Christ. So if the white horse is the good horse in Revelation 19 verse 2, the white horse in Revelation chapter 6 verse 2 must be also a good horse. Okay, so this is how we have to interpret. So when we try to interpret anything, is it consistent in the same words? Like for example, you say Sunday, the Lord's Day, and all these things. If you want to interpret the Lord's Day as a physical day, then it would be more consistent. And compare that to Mark chapter 2, verse 28. Okay, that it is actually Sabbath day. But that is not what Lord's Day is actually meaning about. Okay. Now, the second thing test is that consistent with the message of the book? Now, if we will look at Revelation chapter 1, verse 10, okay, we go to this shortly later. Okay. Now, the other third thing is that is the interpretation a complete representation or message of God? So the third test I'm saying is that if God so loved the world, that whoever believe him should not perish by eternal life. So there's some people interpret that as long as you believe, you confess, you believe, you're saved no matter what you subsequently do. There are Christians who go and say, you believe or not, you believe. Okay, you're saved already. But they'll tell you this, you're saved already. Anything else you do later on, doesn't matter, you are saved. But then there are so many other Bible verses which says, work out your own salvation with trembling and fear. Many are called, few are chosen, and they will give account to him who is ready to judge the dead and the living. Okay, so what the Bible tells you that now you cannot just read one part of the Bible and ignore the rest of the Bible. You have to take collectively what did Jesus Christ says. Yes, Jesus Christ said, believe. Okay, as long as you confess, you believe, you'll be saved. But it doesn't mean that that is the only thing you do. The whole message of the Bible, together with your belief, there are other things that God required you to do. So you have to look into the overall context. So when we look at in Revelation chapter 1 verse 10, let's look at the context of what he's saying. He said that I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day, and I heard a voice. Now here, he tells us that John was in the Spirit. That means he's having a spiritual experience. He did not turn the Spirit, no. He's having a spiritual experience similar to something that Paul himself experienced where he wrote in 2 Corinthians 12 verse 3 to 4, where he says that he was taken up to paradise, whether in the body or soul, he was having a spiritual experience. And just like Paul, John saw a vision. And the vision given to John by Lord Jesus concerning matters happening on the Lord's day. So he was on the Lord's day, and the whole book of Revelations is talking about what he saw on the Lord's day. So what is the Lord's day? Now, anyone who read the book of Revelations, even you don't understand Revelations, you just read Revelation, you see all the events, you can see very clearly that Revelations is talking about the events on the last days. I mean, Let me just test around here. Okay, John, what do you think? What is the book Revelations all about?
Yes.
Huh?
Repeat it again. It's not clear, sir.
Not clear.
What is it? Not clear. Okay, go ahead.
But what do you think when you read the book of Revelations? What do you think the overall message about Revelations is all about? What is
To me, the whole book of Revelation is coming of Christ.
coming of Christ? That
Coming
means
of second time.
events
Yeah.
of the last days. Right?
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask other Moni, what do you think when you read Revelations is all about?
Should be about last day lah.
Last day, because it talks about events happen, first world, second world, earthquakes, and all these things. So if you read Revelation chapter 1, verse 10, he said, I was in the spirit on the Lord's day. And then I heard all these revelations revealed to him. So he was having a spiritual experience. And in his spiritual experience, he saw the events happening on the Lord's day. It's the last day event. So the Lord's day actually refer to last days or end times, So anybody who contact you, the Lord's day, Revelation chapter 1, verse 10, refers to a physical day, is not true. Because John was having a spiritual experience. He said, I was in the spirit. And then I saw all these revelations on the Lord's day. Okay? So you can see all revelations. Now the other part, other question, okay, stop right here. Any question you might have on this issue on Lord's Day? Are we clear? If not, then I continue. Okay, in Acts chapter 20, verse 7. Acts chapter 20, verse 7. Jackie, can you read? Acts chapter 20, verse 7.
Yes, in the name of Lord Jesus Christ, I read Acts chapter 20, verse 7. On the first day of the week, when we were gathered together to break bread, Paul talked with them, intending to depart on the next day, and he prolonged his speech until midnight.
Okay, so
Amen.
here you find Paul having a service on the first day of the week. So, and then Christian says, well, here you see, Paul having a service on the first day of the week. So therefore, he changed Sabbath day to Sunday. I don't know how they come to interpret this, okay? He just mentioned that he was having services on the first day of the week. Now, we have been saying this. There's absolutely nothing wrong with Christians having fellowship at any service on any day of the week, okay? You can have it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever. No problem whatsoever. And in fact, this verse explain why the service was held. Because why? It says that Paul was ready to depart the next day. So Paul do not go there often. And this was probably the last time they will see Paul again. Now, if you were to read the book of Acts, you will know that this was the last missionary journey, okay, on the third missionary journey of Paul. And that he was going, it's sort of his farewell trip, okay? So he was going from church to church, those places that have gone before. And in this place, he had a service whereby with the people, because he was going to go away, and therefore he had a service with them. And what happened, if you actually read the Acts chapter 20, there are certain things that happened at that time, okay? Because what happened on that day was that he spoke his sermon, continued his speech until midnight. One of those people heard sitting up at the ceiling there. He fell down from the ceiling and he died. And this service continued over the midnight, we continue, you read in Acts chapter 20, verse 11, this meeting continued until Monday morning, It did not only stop on first day of the week, it went on until Monday morning because, so if we were to say that Paul having a service on the first day of the week, make it a holy day, then what about Monday? The service was still continuing on Monday itself. Okay, so why is not Monday considered a holy day also? No? So therefore, having a service, you cannot use it as a day. But the other thing it says, when the disciples came together, Acts chapter 20, verse 7, when the disciples came together, the disciples came to break bread. He said, oh, you see, it's a special service because they broke bread on that day. Now, breaking bread to us who in our church, and in general, what this means is holding the sacrament of Holy Communion, or the Roman Catholic Church call it as Eucharist. They say that since the Holy Communion or Eucharist was held on Sunday, Paul changed Sabbath day to Sunday. Now take note. We often in our True Jesus Church, when we have our spiritual meetings, always without fail, will hold the Holy Communion on the last day of the spiritual meeting. And so therefore, we will often hold it on the Sunday because our spiritual meeting ends on Sunday. Does that mean to say that we have changed Sabbath day from being the holy day to Sunday being holy day? No, it does not. Because if you will read 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 26, he said that for as often as you eat the bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's day until he comes again. So, Holy Communion can be held on any day. Just because they broke bread on the first day of the week does not make that day a holy day. Holy Communion can be held on any day. Okay? And if you want to say that Holy Communion, just because the Holy Communion, and that week on holy day, let's look at the first Holy Communion that was conducted by Jesus Christ himself. Okay? You know what day is that? Definitely not first day of the week. Okay? Definitely not, because you say that he resurrected on the seventh day, and the night before he was crucified, he held the Holy Communion. How can that day be Sunday? So if you want to hold, say that Holy Communion, holding Holy Communion, holding Eucharist, make that day the holy day, then it should not be Sunday, because Jesus Christ held the Holy Communion maybe on Thursday. And it is on another day, not on Sunday. So now does that make Thursday a holy day? No, it does not. Okay? Because in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 26, for as often as you eat, it means you can eat the Holy Communion very often. It can be any day. So holding the Holy Communion does not make that day a holy day. Okay? So this verse cannot be used to say that Paul changed Sabbath day to Sunday. You cannot use it at all. Now the other part is in 1 Corinthians 16, verse 2, where he says, Paul, okay, we read this verse, 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 2 to 3. Moni, can you read?
Yes, in Jesus' name I read Corinthians, 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 2. On the first day of the week, let each one of you lay something aside, storing up as he may prosper, that there will be no collection when I come. Verse 3, and when I come, whomever you approve by your letters, I will send to bear your gift to Jerusalem.
Okay, thank you. Now, as I wrote down here, no matter how you read this verse, there's nothing in this verse to say that setting aside and storing contributions tantamount to a call to service. He didn't even call for service. He just said, on the first day of the week, you set aside. In fact, Paul was not even there. He said that you all do this. Every week, first day of the week, you set aside. Okay? Much less It's not even to call them to hold a service, It's just set aside only. And then obviously there's no mention inside here that to say that okay, Sabbath day now we change to Sunday. Now, but you will find Christians from other denominations that use these words as a support that they should change, from Sabbath day to Sunday. They use these words, and it just mystifies me. I can't understand. Now let's understand a bit why this verse was used. You see, when Paul wrote this First Corinthians letter in AD 656, he was on his third missionary journey, and the brethren at Jerusalem were impoverished because of famine. And so collections were made from all the churches to send to Jerusalem. The contributions could, of course, be money, but it's probably more than just money, because they're instructed to organize the contribution on Sunday as follows: lay it aside, store it, and select a person to bear it and give. So now we imagine what is it at that time, okay? Now they are supposed to collect all these things and send to Jerusalem. Send to Jerusalem. For example, if Selangor, Selangor is having say we are staying in Subang Jaya. Subang Jaya is having water crisis, no water supply. Okay. So what will you do? You send money to a family in Subang Jaya? You won't send money. You will send water. Okay. If you are from Kepong or whatever, you want to make sure the brethren in Subang Jaya do not die of thirst, you will send water. You won't send money. So they were thinking that this collection, all these things were mainly money. It is really not money because it's laid aside, store it. These were mainly provisions. Provisions. And then you select a person to bear it. So therefore, because they will collect all these things, store it and all these things. And when you are reading this letter, you must imagine if you are staying during Paul's time, there were no churches as we come today. You go to church, Subang Jaya church so big, Peng church so big, and all these things. You got places to store things. In those days, in the early days of Christians, the churches that you're talking about were typically house churches, meaning to say in the house of a member. So when you say lay aside and collect and store it, it does not mean that you bring to a specific place. You just set aside in your own house. Okay? And then somebody on the first day of the week, he will come around and collect. He will come around and collect. But you just store aside, or you just set aside in your own house, Because why? In those days, in the early days of church, they don't really have a church. If you remember when you read in Acts, many times when Paul went to places to preach, you know where he go to preach? He went to the Jewish synagogue. There were no churches. And there were times when they're observing Sabbath day, like for example, in Acts chapter 16, they're having a Sabbath day worship, and they were having it at a riverside. Not even, nothing, because why? They don't have proper buildings for church services. So, because they don't have proper buildings and all these things, it makes sense laying aside storage and all these things was done in their house. And why in the house? Okay. Now, as you say down here, the contributions could be money. Of course, it can be money. But the fact that it has to be laid aside, store, suggests that it's probably include rations and other material side. And therefore, since there are little likelihood of physical church buildings, laying aside and storing does not mean bringing it to a church. So you don't bring it to church, that means there's no service. You just have store in your own house. It's just a means of methodology of keeping these provisions only. And then it says, as well, everybody is to assign and separate store at their own residence what he intends to contribute. And so that on the Sunday, they can swiftly collect and arrange it to be transported and sent to Jerusalem with some appointed people. Okay. there is probably no service since it is a work day for the Jews. Okay, as far as Jews is concerned, they do not observe Sunday. So you can see that it doesn't make sense, okay, to say this. So there's absolutely nothing in this verse suggests there is a service held on Sunday at Corinth. In fact, in Acts chapter 18, verse 4, this was written to Corinth. Okay, it records that while in Corinth, Paul held services at Jewish synagogue on every Sabbath, to suggest that Paul instruct the start of Sunday worship is stretching the imagination. So, it's written, the record shows that whenever he goes to Corinth, he observes the Sabbath day. There's nothing to suggest that he now says that Sabbath day will change. Now, okay, this other part of this verse, the Lord's Day, I have discussed it before. Okay, so I will not go again through it. Okay, that Jesus Christ said, "I'm the Lord of Sabbath." Okay, you remember I mentioned this that Jesus Christ is the creator. When he said that I'm the Lord of Sabbath, yes, he's the creator. He's the one who created everything. So Jesus Christ is the one who blessed the day and make it holy. And therefore, when he declared, I'm the Lord of Sabbath, it doesn't mean he rejected Sabbath, because he is the one who personally blessed the day. How could it be that therefore he said it changed, or that he discarded Sabbath day? Cannot be. Okay? When Jesus Christ said, I'm Lord of Sabbath, it does not give us permission to change the Sabbath day to another day. It does not give us that permission at all. Now, this other part on Mary Magdalene, this one very interesting. Because when I was in Matthew chapter 28, verse 1, Matthew chapter 28, verse 1, okay, what happened was this, when I was in this discussion forum, this lady turned out and says that, he turned to this Matthew chapter 28, verse 1, and says that, no, on the first day of the week, very early in the morning, Mary and then some other woman, they brought spices to do the tomb, and then Jesus Christ was missing. And it says that, oh, you see, Jesus Christ was arisen on that day, and therefore this woman went there and do the worship at the tomb there. And so therefore, since Jesus Christ rise on the first day of the week, the first day of the week is now officially the holy day, and Saturday has been done away with. So I says, how could it be, because the woman changed Sabbath day to Sunday. I pointed out, okay, you read this verse in which just before this, I says, what did the woman do? You read in Luke chapter 23, verse 56. Luke chapter 23, verse 56. Kindly, can you read? Read Luke chapter 23, verse 56. John, maybe can you mute your thing?
You want me to read?
No. Kindly to read, but I think yours is you have to mute your thing. Kindly, can you read Luke chapter 23, verse 56? Luke chapter 23, verse 56. Kindly, got it?
Luke chapter 23, verse 56. Then they went home and prepared spices and perfume, but they rested on the Sabbath in obedience to the commandment.
Okay, so I pointed out, okay, you pointed out Matthew chapter 28, verse 1, which is the equivalent of it is in Luke chapter 24, verse 1. Okay, it's a paraphrase. It's equivalent. I says, but what did the woman did just before that? In Luke chapter 23, verse 56, which is actually the verse before Luke chapter 24, verse 1, it says that the woman rested according to the commandment. And if just the day before they rested according to commandment, means keeping the commandments, how could it be that now on the day when Jesus Christ resurrected, they changed the Sabbath day worship to Sunday? I said, cannot be. Because it's very clear in the Bible that these women observe the Sabbath day according to commandment. So there's no question that they changed. Okay. So, and then there's another verse in John chapter 20, verse 19. It says that on the first day of the week, when the doors were shut, when disciples assembled for fear of the Jews, Jesus Christ came and stood in the midst and said, peace. Now, they said, hey, here in John chapter 20, verse 19, on the first day of the week, these disciples of Jesus Christ, they were in closed door, shut together, having a service. I said, wait a minute. None of this verse says that they were having a service. Okay, why? Because they were shut together because out of fear for the Jews, they were actually coming together for fear of Jews. It means to come together to hide from the Jews. It's not really intent to worship, okay? Yes, they assembled together, but they were in fear of the Jews. If anything, they're holding a crisis meeting to discuss what to do next. Okay, having a crisis meeting. Okay. So the last thing in the mind to discuss, hey, let's change Sabbath day to Sunday because Jesus Christ resurrected on Sunday. In fact, they didn't know that Jesus Christ, they were not very convinced that Jesus Christ resurrected, and not especially Thomas, okay. And then Jesus Christ appeared before them, and you know the whole story. So they are coming together, assembling together on the Sunday, and probably they were not only there on the Sunday, okay, because from the time Jesus Christ resurrected, I'm sure they've been hiding. Okay, probably from Friday all the way onwards, they've been logging together, assembling together, discuss what have we to do, because now our leader has died, what are we going to do? So probably they've been there, and it records that on Sunday they were still there. Okay, and then Jesus Christ appeared before them. Okay? That's what happened. There's no mention down here that there has been a change. Okay? Now I mentioned this already. The last part on today's discussion is concerning the Jewish calendar and the Gregorian calendar. Now just now I mentioned that this lady says that the Sabbath day that we are basically the Wednesday Sabbath. He used this. So I said, I do not know. Okay, this is totally a lie. I said, I do not know where you get the source. And this is definitely a lie. Because you go in the internet, okay, this is how it looks like, okay. Sunday in Jewish terms is called Rishon. Monday is Shani. Tuesday is Lisi. Okay, Wednesday is Rabbi. Thursday is Kemishi. Friday is Shishi, and then Saturday is Sabbath. Okay, so you can clearly see which is Sabbath day, Saturday. Okay, so although I think all of us, none of us are Hebrew scholars, you can clearly identify Sabbath day is which day. Okay, it is equivalent to Saturday, but not exactly Saturday because the Jews the day start from sunset to sunset. Okay, according to the Bible, okay, sunset to sunset, which is the last question that we have. Did God created each day? Okay, is it just an illustration in the sense that the one day of creation maybe millions of years or thousands of years and all these things. But the Bible tells us very clearly, if you read Genesis chapter 1, okay, where it says that, like for example, if you read Genesis chapter 3, 1 verse 3, chapter 1 verse 5, it says that God called the light day and darkness was night, and there was evening, and there was morning, one day. So every day of creation is mentioned. There's evening and there's morning, one day, second day. Evening and morning, third day. So the creation days of God, there's evening and there's morning, one day. So each day of creation in God's calendar for us, mankind to follow is 1 hours day, because there's evening and there's morning. So when you talk about the calendars that we are talking about, it's always a 7-day week, with each day having an evening and morning, means a 24-hour day. Okay, and so therefore the Sabbath day to Christians is always on the Friday evening to Saturday evening, 6 to 6. Okay, so while it is not exactly Saturday equal to Sabbath day, but in general, okay, we think that the equivalent of Sabbath is Saturday. And so therefore our church will have our Sabbath day worship from Friday evening to Saturday evening. Okay, so just to get the understanding. So there is no mistaking that the Jewish calendar will definitely is equivalent to the Gregorian calendar. So anybody tell you that the Jewish Sabbath day is on a Wednesday, it is a lie. It is a lie. Okay, so don't believe any of these people who simply say things like this. So I will send you these notes for you all for this. Up to this point of time, any question?
No, very informative.
Jackie, any question?
No
No,
questions.
I'm fine. Thank you.
Moni, any questions that you might have?
No, thank you. All good.
Kylie, okay? Kylie,
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
Okay, clear. So as far as we are concerned, God's holy day, Sabbath day, is always on the 7th day, the 7th day of the week. It has never been changed. The leaders of other churches, they themselves will agree, and I will be sending you notes on these things after today's session, that to tell you that they themselves know and agree, but they don't follow. They want to keep back to customs. And then if you were to talk to those friends of yours, because of the Sabbath day, they have mistakenly think that because many Christians observe Sunday as a holy day, and you do not observe Sunday as the holy day, they say that you are not following the Bible. While in actual fact, they are the ones who do not follow the Bible. And this is what their own leaders will readily agree and admit. And so this is what of the message that I want to bring up to all of you here. So if there's no questions, I'm going to end this recording.